Before the college entrance exam, my childhood friend Suze received a call from his ex. "Do you?" saying she had failed her vocational college admissions exam and decided to give up the Gokao. I persuaded him to take the Gokao until, in the third year after Du Yu's death, I was burned alive with gasoline. "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, Du Yu wouldn't have been beaten to death by those thugs." Suze, his eyes bloodshot, splashed gasoline all over me and said viciously. Only then did I learn that Du Yu had failed the special admissions exam. Yet she had provoked many hoodlums. On the day of the college entrance exam, Du Yu was beaten to death? When I opened my eyes again, I had actually returned to the day before the college entrance exam. This time, I would never persuade Suze to take the exam. One ran. "This time I can't take the college entrance exam with you." Suze's faint voice came to my ears. I felt a wave of fear. I thought of Suze's twisted expression, but I steadied myself and replied coldly, "Okay." In my previous life, after Suze, my childhood friend, learned of Du Yu's death, they even blamed me for all the wrongdoing. They tricked me into going on a trip, and I stupidly got in the car. The car sped along, but it took me to an abandoned factory in the middle of nowhere. I realized something was wrong, but the car door was locked. I shouted anxiously, "Suze, have you lost your mind?" Suze's eyes were bloodshot as he grabbed my hair, making my scalp tingle. I tried to resist, but in the end I was no match for him. Tied to a large pillar by Suze, with her mouth also gagged. "I've gone crazy. If it weren't for you, Yaye wouldn't have died. If you hadn't made me take the college entrance exam, I wouldn't have missed the chance to save Yaye." A torrent of hatred radiated from Suze, as if he were a madman. I struggled desperately to get up, trying to untie the rope behind me, but it was to no avail. "Die!" with Suze's shout. Gasoline was poured all over me. A burst of firelight was hurled from Suze's hand, and a wave of intense pain surged through his body. I thought about it and found it truly ridiculous. I was considering Suze's future, yet he blamed Du Yu's death on me. In the end, he was the one who made the decision. How utterly hypocritical. "Why didn't you try to persuade me?" Suze's voice came from beside my ear, interrupting my memories. Perhaps he sensed that I was different from before. If it had been the old me, I would certainly have tried to persuade him. But this time, I only looked at him and said faintly, "This is your own business. It has nothing to do with me." "Okay," Suze replied indifferently. Watching Suze's departing figure, I silently thought, "This time, I definitely won't persuade you to take the college entrance examination. I won't interfere in your affairs even a little bit anymore." 2. Tomorrow is the college entrance examination. I dared not slack off and prepared all the necessary items. Sitting in the college entrance examination room, the bell rang, and I began answering the questions. Looking at the familiar Chinese language exam paper on the desk, I wrote down the correct answers in one go. In the end, I handed in the paper full of confidence. The 4 days of exams passed quickly. As I walked out of the exam room, reporters were interviewing people at the entrance. "Hello, how did the exam go, candidate?" I said honestly. "Okay." After answering the reporter's other questions, I ran toward where my mother was standing. Ran. "How did the exam go, Mother?" Hui asked with a smile. "Not bad. I'm confident." Hearing my firm voice, Mother Hui's smile widened even more. "Well, isn't this Ran, who's always overshadowed by A's?" A grating sound rang out. There stood Suze's mother Zhou Hongmai off to the side. With her arms crossed, she said somewhat arrogantly. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Sue's mother said again, "After all these years, your grades have never surpassed Suze's. As expected. A girl is just a girl," I said coldly. "That's not something Auntie needs to worry about." She had no idea that in my previous life, Suze's grades had never been better than mine. I still remember that day. After class, Suze called out to me cautiously, and I turned around, looking at him in confusion. Ran, can you let me have tomorrow's monthly exam?" Suze had always been the second best student in the school. But his plea surprised me. Only then did he say, "Actually, I've always told my mom that I'm the top student in the school." But she had never looked at the exam paper before. This time, she had to see it. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Suze grew a little anxious. One ran. "Help me. Otherwise, if my mom finds out, she'll definitely beat me to death." Looking at Suze's anxious face, I finally nodded. After controlling my scores, I came in second place. I was only 1 point behind Suze. I let out a faint laugh, wondering whether Jo Hongmei would still be able to smile this time. Mrs. Su was left speechless and rolled her eyes at me. "What's there to be smug about? My son will definitely outshine you again this time." The reporter who had just interviewed me seemed to have caught a whiff of gossip. She walked over to Mrs. Su and held the microphone out in front of her. Curiously, she began asking Mrs. Su, "Hello. I just heard that your son's grades are excellent, right? Is he a student who took the Gaokao this year?" Seeing the reporter interview her, Mrs. Su became even more proud. He went on and on. "My son is called Suze. He's been the top student in the entire school at No. 1 high school for years. He studies very well. Our goal is Tsinghua. My son will definitely be this year's top scorer in the college entrance exam." Hearing Su's mother's words, the reporter grew somewhat excited. This is huge news. If he really is the top scorer, then she'd have interviewed the top scorer's mother. She went on asking, "How many points does your son usually get?" Su's mother grew haughtier again and said in a thin voice, "My son usually scores 700 points. If you don't believe me, ask this girl. She's always been second in the whole school. But my son has been keeping her firmly crushed." I heard this and did not get angry. Instead, I just smiled at the reporter, as if I were tacitly agreeing with Mrs. Su. Seeing that I seemed to have agreed, the reporter became even more convinced by what Mrs. Su said. He left very excitedly, probably planning to cut together a big news story. I took my mother's hand and prepared to go home. Mother Su was still standing there waiting for Suze. However, she would not be able to wait for Suze today. I smiled, feeling cheerful. The next day, when she turned on the TV, Su's mother was striking a proud pose on the screen. When she opened her phone, as expected, Su's mother's remarks had already surged to third place on the trending list. In the comments, netizens were sending their blessings. "The top student at No. 1 high school is really excellent. If only my son could be even half as good as her. Best of luck. Best of luck waiting for a high score." I kept scrolling down, and amid all the well wishes, a few comments stood out. "I remember Suze has never seemed to have ranked first in the whole school. Has he? Yeah. 700 points. That's simply wishful thinking." I just smiled. I wonder, once Suze's results are out, whether these people will immediately switch sides. 4. Ding dong. At the sound, I opened my phone. The message above was the homeroom teacher urging me to check my score. I hurriedly opened the computer and entered my exam admission number. My mother stood behind me, looking even more nervous than I was. The screen showed that my Gaokao score was hidden. The once gentle mother now looked like a child, excitedly jumping up. Ran. Awesome. Watching my mother proudly give me a thumbs up, my memories involuntarily drifted back to my previous life. In my previous life, my grades were still very good. Suze and I were both born in a remote town, and from a young age, our parents were divorced. Only my mother raised me. My grades were not due to talent, but to my day-after-day efforts. One ran. "Why are you still studying? You've become a total bookworm. You might as well skip class and come have dinner with me." Suze's voice came to my ears, and I looked up at him. I only uttered one word, "No." Seeing my refusal, he said impatiently, "If you don't want to go, then don't. You're practically turning into a study-obsessed idiot." I ignored him and just kept flipping through my wrong answers. On the eve of the college entrance exam, Suze often skipped class and slipped out. Little by little, His grades dropped sharply. He had originally been able to score 600 points, but on the first mock exam, he only scored 500. I tried to persuade him, but he didn't take it seriously. Until, on the eve of the college entrance examination, he received a call from his ex. "Do you?" A tearful voice came from the other end of the phone. "A's. My single entrance exam results are out, and I wasn't admitted. Can you stop taking the exam too? I'm so heartbroken. Let me think about it." Suze's hesitant voice came through the phone. And the call was quickly hung up. I said coldly, "You're not really going to give up the college entrance exam, are you? How important the college entrance exam is. You should know." Suze scratched his head. One ran. "I can't take the college entrance exam with you anymore. I want to go be with you." After he said that, I looked at him as if he were an idiot. 3 years of hard work in high school were all for that one moment in the college entrance exam. And at the crucial time he actually wanted to give it up. It was still because of the absurd reason that you failed the single admission exam. I couldn't take it anymore and said, "Are you crazy? And also, think about what would happen if Auntie found out." Hearing this, Suze hesitated, but in the end he still took the college entrance examination, got into a local second-tier university, and after graduation, life was blissful. Thinking of all this, I let out a cold laugh. My fingers typed out the message that my exam results had been hidden, and I sent it over. The homeroom teacher was very happy and even called back specially, and notify everyone to attend the gathering tomorrow. "Okay," I replied. 5. On the day of the banquet, pushing open the door, the homeroom teacher and the classmates were all sitting neatly in place. Seeing me come, the homeroom teacher became excited. One ran. "Your score is at least in the top 50 in the province. You've brought honor to me and the school," I said calmly. It was just luck. We raised our glasses and chatted. And before we knew it, the conversation turned to Suze. One ran. "Do you know how many points Suze scored?" It even made the news. Class monitor Liren asked with some curiosity. I took a sip of the orange juice in the cup. It had a sour taste. Putting down the cup, I looked at the class monitor. "I don't know. Suze and I haven't been in touch for a long time." Seeing this, the class monitor, Liren, was somewhat surprised, but he didn't say much either. Instead, he curiously discussed it with the other classmates. I knew why the class monitor was surprised. In my previous life, Suze in the first year of high school had very poor grades and no social standing, wearing a school uniform and black-framed glasses all day long. And whenever the test papers were handed out, he would always stare for a long time at the red score on the paper, as if deep in thought. He would then change the 28 points on the test paper to 98 points. We often went home together. Once, Mrs. Su saw me and invited me to their home as a guest. The moment Suze spread out the exam papers, Mrs. Su flew into a rage, grabbed the broom beside her, and viciously struck Suze. I, sitting on the sofa, felt a little uneasy. "You only scored 82 points. What exactly are you good for? Even when Rand scored more than you." I don't know why I was mentioned. After hitting Suze several times with a stick, Sue's mother finally stated her purpose. One ran. "Could you help Suze? It won't take up too much of your time." I hesitated a bit, about to say something, but I was loudly interrupted by Sue's mother. To my surprise, Madame Su actually started crying, her voice choking with tears. I felt a bit at a loss and stood up. One ran. "You know that your mother and I have both been through divorce. Please, have a little pity for a mother's heart." Sue's mother tearfully pleaded with me, faced with an elder's tearful request. I really had no other choice. I could only agree. During class, I made sure to supervise Suze's attentiveness. After class, I explained difficult problems that Suze doesn't understand to him. I also actively involve Suze in class activities. With my efforts, Suze's grades have improved significantly, and he has become more popular among his peers. In the first semester of his second year of high school, he achieved the second highest score in the entire school. But since that time, Mother Sue has become increasingly arrogant, thinking that Suze performed better than me. She has also become more and more impolite in her speech, thinking about Mother Sue's haughty and arrogant attitude now. This must be her true nature. It's just that back then, she achieved her goals by pretending to be pitiful. 6. Let's not mention Suze for now. Everyone, please start eating. Suze probably won't be coming today. Class monitor Liren instructed. Everyone began picking up dishes and raised their glasses together, celebrating the successful conclusion of the college entrance exam. A small milestone in life has been achieved. Night fell, and the banquet finally came to an end. I took out my phone to book a ride and returned home. Upon closer inspection, I found over a dozen unfamiliar phone calls. I didn't pay it any mind, thinking it was just a spam call. It wasn't until the next day that the ringing phone woke me up. Groggily, I answered the phone, and an excited voice came through. Is this one Ran? Hello. Are you interested in coming to Peking University? I instinctively asked. What? A deep voice came through, sounding somewhat anxious. As long as you come to Peking University, your tuition will be fully waived. You can receive any scholarship you want, and your whole family can go on a 7-day trip abroad. If you have any other requests, feel free to mention them. It was only then that I realized I had been selected by the Peking University admissions team. However, my goal was Tsinghua University, so I had no choice but to politely decline Peking University's offer. Just after hanging up the phone, the screen lit up again. I answered the phone, and an excited voice came through on the other end. Hello, one Ran. Congratulations on becoming the top scorer in the college entrance examination. Are you interested in coming to Tsinghua University? We will cover all tuition fees, provide a private single room, and offer any scholarship you desire. Choose any mentor you like, and the reward is a family trip abroad. Okay, I calmly replied. The voice on the other end grew excited. One Ran. We're heading to your place right now to handle the enrollment. Before I could say anything, the call was disconnected. I quickly tidied up, and upon hearing that someone from Tsinghua University was coming, my mother even changed into her newest and favorite dress. We cleaned the room until it was spotless. I shook my head and said, Mother, it shouldn't be that serious. Mother didn't even look at me, continuing without pause, though her tone was full of delight. What do you know? This is a big deal. Helpless, I got up and joined Mother in the cleaning. Finally finished cleaning, I collapsed onto the sofa, not wanting to move at all. 7. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. I hurried to open it, only to find dozens of people outside, along with several reporters. As soon as they saw me open the door, the flashbulbs kept going off. I invited them into the house and poured tea for the teachers from the admissions team. The Tsinghua teacher was very warm and talked with me for quite a while. I gave the Tsinghua teacher a definite answer, and only then did I leave. The Peking University teacher saw that they could not win me over and left as well. The next day, the video of my interview was posted online. Netizens sent their congratulations one after another. So this is the top scorer in the college entrance exam, so smart. Congratulations. Congratulations. I heard he scored 715 points. And amid all the congratulatory comments, some netizens sensed that something was off. I remember someone said a few days ago that her son was actually the top scorer on the college entrance exam. I don't know. How many points did her son get? Exactly. Exactly. That arrogant, conceited attitude is really disgusting. I turned off my phone, but I never expected the situation to spiral further and further out of control. When I turned on my phone the next day, the headline glaringly read, "A woman arrogantly announces that her son is expected to become the top scorer in the Gokao, only to be slapped in the face." The eye-catching title made netizens click on it without even thinking. Soon, a video was spreading like wildfire, and the figure in it was none other than our homeroom teacher. Blocked by reporters, several of them almost shoved their microphones into the homeroom teacher's mouth. The reporters kept asking questions, and the homeroom teacher grew annoyed. Suze didn't even go take the college entrance exam. Otherwise, there's no way he could have gotten 0 points. The homeroom teacher knew everyone's exam admission numbers. So naturally he knew that Suze hadn't gone to take the college entrance exam. As soon as those words were spoken, the flashes kept going off. The reporters became even more excited. It said that his mother claimed Suze's grades are usually even better than the top score in the college entrance exam. Is that true? The homeroom teacher was cornered and said impatiently. Suze only scores a little over 500 points on regular exams. Many reporters finally got the information they wanted and left at last. This video went viral, and netizens left comments one after another. Not blessed with the destiny of a top scholar, but afflicted with the top scholar syndrome. This remark was pushed to second place on the trending list. It drew widespread ridicule from many netizens. 7. However, after many days of calming down, this matter only grew more and more intense. The reason was nothing else but that Sue's mother was too vain. She even took the initiative to find reporters, and said, "My son just didn't want to take the exam this time. Next year, he will definitely become the top scorer in the college entrance examination. As long as he studies for one more year, he will definitely become the top scorer in the province." The video went viral online again. It was mocked by many netizens. This mother's vanity is just too strong. A knock on the door came, and I opened it. Standing outside was Suze, the Suze who had gone viral online. His expression twisted. He shouted at me, "Did you tell my mom that I went to see Yeye?" I was speechless and said coldly, "It has nothing to do with me. I never said anything." Seeing the disdain on my face, Suze knew I wasn't lying. Left, slamming the door behind him. I guessed that Mother Sue had definitely dragged Suze back for the sake of her own vanity. But what did this have to do with me? Thinking of my previous life, I had worked hard to help Suze improve his grades. Not only did I fail to receive Suze's gratitude, but Duyu's death was instead blamed on me. Sue's mother became increasingly rude. What an ungrateful wretch. Looking at the video spreading wildly online, I gave a cold laugh. This time, I'm definitely not telling you to take the college entrance exam. However, Aunt Sue will definitely find a way. She'll make Suze satisfy the desire in her heart. What awaits Suze is repeating a year. 8. The day of enrollment was approaching. I packed my things and came to the Tsinghua campus. The surroundings here felt incredibly familiar to me. In my previous ES life, it was also in my junior year, I was brutally killed by Suze. It also shattered my dream of scientific research. This time, I will definitely fulfill my dream. A wonderful college life. Here I come. On campus, I kept studying hard, joined a lab, and made friends. I won quite a few gold medals. A fulfilling life makes me happy. Finals week is approaching, and it's once again the annual college entrance exam season. The title on the trending list on my phone had turned into Suze takes the college entrance exam. Curious. I clicked on it, and Suze in the video seemed to have just come out of the exam hall. The Suze in the video no longer had the vigor and confidence of those years. He looked utterly haggard, with deep dark circles hanging under his eyes. Sue's mother, however, pulled Suze by the hand and found the reporter. "This is my son Suze. And this is his first time repeating a year. After this college entrance exam, my son will definitely become the top scorer in the Gokao." The reporter looked at the mother and son, and there was no longer the same enthusiasm as before. He merely said calmly, "I know. Don't interrupt me while I'm interviewing the other candidates." It seemed the reporter no longer believed Suze could become the top scorer in the college entrance exam. After all, the internet was still circulating the homeroom teacher's embarrassing video. But seeing this, Sue's mother became displeased, put her hands on her hips and pointed a finger at the reporter's nose. She said smugly, "What do you mean by that? You don't believe my son can become the top scorer in the college entrance exam? No taste." After saying that, Sue's mother spat in the direction of the reporter. The powerless Suze pulled at his mother's arm, wanting her to leave. But unexpectedly, the more he did this, the more arrogant Sue's mother became. She loudly grabbed Suze and said, "Son, tell them, weren't you first in your school last year?" Seeing Sue's mother acting so unreasonably, Suze finally reached his limit, shouted loudly, "Mom, I was lying to you. I'm not the top student in the whole school at all. The real top student is Ran." "What?" Mother Sue was shocked and said in disbelief. "In front of everyone." She flew into a frenzy, shouting, "Impossible. You will definitely be first." Suze could no longer tolerate it and pulled Mother Sue away. 9. After watching the video, I couldn't help but feel a wave of emotion. In the previous life, Mother Sue blamed me for Suze's admission to a second-tier university, accused me of not properly educating Suze, came to the house and made a huge scene. I could no longer tolerate it. So I told Mrs. Sue about Suze skipping classes. But to my surprise, Mrs. Sue did not believe it. In the end, Suze still wasn't made to repeat a year. He should have realized that I was telling the truth. In this life, Sue's mother seemed to have become even more frenzied. Suze deceived her about his grades, and she was already unable to tolerate it. If she knew that Suze often skipped classes to date you, I wonder what she would think. I gave a soft laugh and continued to immerse myself in my final exam review. After junior year ended, I began my internship. Before the internship started, the class monitor sent me a message. Ran. Long time no see. I'm hosting a class reunion tomorrow. I don't know whether you have time. Looking at the message on my phone, I replied, "Okay." Soon it was the day of the reunion. I put on a white dress and headed there. Time passed quickly. The class monitor, who had still seemed somewhat youthful back then, now carried a fully mature aura. He had also become more composed and greeted me quite warmly when he saw me arrive. He teased me, saying, Ran, how's the college life of a top scorer in the college entrance exam?" I smiled lightly and said, "Pretty good." The other classmates became even more gossipy. "Have you met anyone you like in college?" "Yeah. Top scorer on the college entrance exam. I haven't seen you in a long time." Seeing the familiar yet slightly unfamiliar faces, my heart grew warm. Though it was gossip, it was also concern. I also teased them. "Don't ask me. How are you all doing?" Everyone began talking over one another. Some said college life was wonderful, but that quickly drew skepticism from the other classmates. The Youth League branch secretary stood up and said, "What's so good about it? There are endless lectures, endless activities to attend, and endless credits to earn." Some of the students immediately chimed in agreement. Some students even had it worse. College actually banned phones. They also had to attend morning reading sessions and evening self-study. As soon as the words were spoken, everyone cast sympathetic glances. Everyone promptly steered clear of this university. After eating and drinking their fill, the gathering finally came to an end. After exchanging greetings, I took a taxi home. 10. Mom. Seeing my mother's back, I shouted. My mother turned around happily, somewhat surprised. Ran, why are you back?" I stepped forward and gave her a big hug, saying gently, "I just missed you, so I came back to see you." Mother patted my back and murmured, "It's good that you're back. I'll make you a big pork knuckle to eat." "No need. I've already eaten." I looked at Mother's face and said gently. Mother took my hand and urged, "All right. Then go rest quickly." I nodded and walked toward my original room. When I opened the room, I was a little surprised. I had originally thought no one had been living here, so there should have been some dust. But the room was spotless. It must have been cleaned from time to time. I lay on the bed, and the fluffy blanket was so comfortable. I stretched and soon fell asleep. In my dream, I actually dreamed of Suze. He saw me, and actually grabbed my hand, staring at me fixedly. In a gloomy voice, he said, Ran, why didn't you try to talk me out of it this time? It's all your fault. You ruined my life." He gripped my neck tightly, his twisted face very close to mine. I was so frightened that I immediately woke up. sitting on the bed. I wiped the cold sweat from my forehead. Thankfully, it was only a dream. For some reason, I felt a little uneasy, but soon, I pressed those uneasinesses down in my heart. Comforted himself. This only happened in the previous life. He drank a glass of water and then fell asleep soundly again. The next day, he returned to school. He began sending resumes to major companies and added HR on WeChat. Several companies' HR departments invited me to come in for interviews. When I arrived at a tech company I really liked, I looked at the HR representative and began with a brief self-introduction. The HR representative glanced at the resume in hand and said hesitantly, "If you join our company, the most I can offer you right now is a monthly salary of $30,000. I smiled and nodded. The HR stood up and shook hands with me. She said happily, "Welcome to our company. You can start work tomorrow." I nodded again and wandered down the street, looking at the surrounding buildings and the bustling district. I couldn't help but feel delighted to be able to come here to work and fulfill my dream of doing research. I began to work hard, and not long after, I received a higher salary. I also started a company, which is now steadily on its way to going public. I brought my mother to the big city and paid in full for an 8 million yuan apartment building, but at the same time, my schedule was extremely busy. And many times I couldn't even manage to eat on time. I looked at the tasks that needed handling on the computer, and I was continuously working on research reports. 12. Until the phone started flashing, just as I was about to hang up. I saw that it was a call from the class monitor. As far as I know, the class monitor won't call unless something is up. I answered the phone, only to receive shocking news. One ran, "Do you know Suze? You used to study together often. But now something has happened to him." I exclaimed in surprise. "What?" The class monitor's regretful voice came through the phone. It said that Sue's mother had always been interfering in his life with Duyu. 2 years ago, Suze was kept at home to study for the entrance exams. Duyu angered some other thugs again and was killed. I was shocked. Duyu's fate was still fixed. I fell silent. On the other end of the line, the class monitor's voice became hesitant. "This year, I really can't say it." One ran, "Just look at your phone." The class monitor sighed, then hung up. I opened the news, and it was actually broadcasting Suze murdering his mother. I was shocked and clicked on the video. On it, the news anchor was reporting, Suze, due to being detained by his mother for exam prep for a long time, his partner, Duyu, was beaten to death after angering some thugs. Suze, 1 year later, brutally killed his own mother. As far as we know, the criminal police have quickly intervened. What awaits Suze is prison. This incident is worth reflecting on. I sat there dazedly listening to the host's remarks, finding it all utterly unbelievable. There were millions of comments, with netizens buzzing in discussion. Most netizens accused Suze of being a murderer, saying he had a wicked heart and was a complete bad guy. A small number of netizens believed that Sue's mother was too vain and wanted to satisfy herself through Suze's achievements, which was what killed Suze and also killed herself. The neutral camp said that while Sue's mother was indeed stubborn, Suze was even more terrifying. And Sue's mother's stubbornness was not a reason for Suze to kill someone. I kept flipping through the comments in my hand, thinking back to my previous life. Suze was admitted to a second-tier university. But Sue's mother did not force Suze to keep repeating a year. And in this life, Sue's mother kept forcing Suze. The difference was that in the previous life, Suze blamed Duyu's death on me. In this life, however, he blamed Duyu's death on Sue's mother. Duyu's fate still remained unchanged. And Suze would never get out of prison in this lifetime. This time, I didn't persuade you to take the college entrance examination. But is this really the outcome you wanted? I couldn't help but feel the hairs on my body stand on end. Perhaps Suze's mind had already become twisted. He regarded Duyu as the redemption of his life. Only Duyu would not force him to study. So, after Duyu died, he killed Sue's mother. I thought calmly in my mind. Suze was definitely not a normal person. According to a normal person's way of thinking, if he wanted revenge, it should have been against those thugs, not Sue's mother. I turned off my phone and started working hard, pushing the thoughts in my mind aside. After work, I strolled through the park and stretched. I headed home. I saw the sunset sinking in the sky. The sunset nearby was red and orange. Very beautiful. I stood there for a long time, gazing at the beautiful scene in the sky. Looking back, I had already come to terms with it. The phone in my backpack rang, and I answered it. My mother's gentle voice came through. Ran. Come home for dinner quickly. I made a big pork knuckle today. I smiled and replied. Okay. Then I headed home. The evening glow stretched my silhouette very long.